Joining us now is our own national political correspondent, Dan Baldwin. He joins us now from just fresh off the campaign trail following Trump and now Vice President Vance. Dan, welcome back.
It's always good to see you, Chanel. Thanks so much for having me.
Dan, you've gone to dozens of these rallies, and I know that this time we're having to hold a lot of these rallies indoors, so there's obviously a slightly different feel to how these rallies proceed. How would you put in your own words what the shift is on the campaign trail in Team Trump?
Chanel, I'm not really sure there is much of a shift. When you think about the messaging, you think about the mission, you have to keep in mind, too, that the Trump team always thought that this was a possibility. Biden's incredibly old, very obviously cognitively impaired. This was always a possibility. The Trump team wagered, correctly so, that if they got Joe Biden on a debate stage with President Trump would deliver one of the greatest knockout blows in political history. It's exactly what happened. Harris getting installed without winning a single primary vote was always within the realm of possibility. But I actually got a chance to ask Vice Presidential running mate J.D. Vance how the political calculus of this race changed after the Harris coronation took place. And he said he didn't really think it changed really all that much. She's basically Joe Biden 2.0. Chanel. She's more liberal. She was ranked as one of the most liberal, the most liberal senator when she was serving as a senator from California. She ran an aggressively far-left radical campaign for president back in 2020. And of course, her vice presidential tenure has been completely marred with ineptitude and incompetence and gaslighting. She couldn't run from being border czar fast enough. So the calculus doesn't really change. The messaging remains the same. She owns Joe Biden's record as much as anybody else. It's just a matter of showing the American people that, and President Trump did a great job of that in Minnesota this past weekend.
Yeah, but Dan, I get the feeling that the approach towards how they're tackling Kamala's record and her role as vice president is slightly, they're still trying to get their bearings. At least that's from my impression. There's a slight adjustment, if you will, in how they talk about her. Would you agree with that assessment, or is it even keel, kind of the same messaging that they anticipated day one?
Well, when you speak about Joe Biden for 3+ years, and then just as Joe Biden's talking about how only the Lord Almighty can yank him out of the presidential race, he drops out while he's sheltering with the coronavirus with a letter and doesn't exactly explain why, out of the blue, shocking pretty much everyone in the political world. It's still fresh. It's still obviously fresh. There's 100 days left until the presidential election actually happens. But the messaging, while it may not necessarily be as sharp as Biden's is right now, there's still plenty of fodder to go around. She, again, the most liberal senator back when she was serving as that. And generally, historically speaking, Chanel, the more the American people see Kamala Harris, the less they like her. Her approval rating hit 28%. Back in November of 2021 when she was serving as the border czar. And when you look at the polls, you could even say, hey, listen, the Trump team might be trying to get their messaging under their feet. They might be trying to get their feet wet. But when you look at the polls, this so-called Harris honeymoon, it still hasn't necessarily changed the shape of the race from a polling perspective. When you go on Real Clear Politics polling average, Chanel, Trump still leads her in a general election by nearly 2%. When you look up the swing state polls, he's up by more than 6 in Arizona, 10% in Nevada. He's up in every single Rust Belt swing state. He's up by 9% in North Carolina, 4.5% in Georgia. And a new Wall Street Journal poll, Chanel, shows that for the first time, really in a long time, 51% of people approved of how Trump handled the entire country when he was president. So much for a Harris honeymoon when it comes to the polling. So the mainstream media, legacy and corporate media, want you to believe that this is massive surge, but from a polling perspective, not much has really changed.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.